Entitled cousin smashed my MacBook, so I used his inheritance. My cousin got a large inheritance from my aunt that he doesn't know about. We're keeping it safe for him, but simply don't think he's ready to know it exists yet. We'd never dip into it under normal circumstances, but these weren't normal circumstances. He threw a tantrum and smashed my laptop, so I needed to get it replaced. He's still got a lot of inheritance left over, but my mom and I are being told we're jerks. I'm 17, and my 8-year-old cousin has been under my family's care since his mother passed away from illness about a year ago. She was a single parent and didn't leave a will or anything, but she asked my parents to take care of her son. After she passed, the $20,000 she had in her bank was given to my parents. My aunt never actually told us what to do with that money, but my mother, her sister, decided it was best that we use that money to pay for part of his college funds and have him get a part-time job to pay for the rest when he was older. My mom then made a joint account with him and kept the money there to gather interest. But she decided not to tell him, as she didn't want a child to know he had $20,000 under his name. A few days ago, I got into an argument with him since he was misbehaving. He had wanted to go on my MacBook to play video games. I usually let him go on my Mac in my room unsupervised when I'm not using it. But when I warned him not to disturb me since I was busy with a project, or else he wouldn't get to play when I leave for work, he started tossing my stuff in the trash bin. So I shut my MacBook down and left the house. When I came back, however, my mom told me the MacBook was wrecked, since he threw it on the floor while she was cooking dinner. My room is on the second floor, so she wasn't able to watch him. Since my AppleCare had already expired, it meant that it'll cost a lot to replace it. My data was stored in my cloud, but I had a project I needed to submit by the end of the week, so the quickest solution was to get a replacement. But we didn't exactly have $3,000 to spare, so we decided to just use the money in his joint account. When my mother told my grandma how we settled the issue, however, she instead accused my mother of stealing from my cousin and said we should have used our own money to pay for it, especially since he didn't even know he had that kind of money. Are we the jerks? Before even addressing the inheritance, I need to address the fact that this original poster saw her cousin throwing a tantrum and then left him alone with her laptop. I know this has no bearing on the moral argument here, but holy crackers, this OP has a lot of learning to do for someone who's almost done with school. As for the inheritance, the fact that he was the one who broke the laptop makes it sound justifiable to use his money. Some have argued that an 8-year-old wouldn't have understood that the MacBook belonged to OP, but that's because a scary number of Redditors can't tell the difference between a young child and a literal infant. He should understand ownership just fine. However, one commenter pointed out that this was not a new laptop. If her AppleCare expired, then replacing her MacBook with a brand new one means she was using her cousin's inheritance to buy something worth more than what he broke. That's the point at which OP and her mother sound a little entitled. Paying for a used MacBook or getting the old one repaired would have been more reasonable. Do you agree, or do you think things are more black and white? Is OP the jerk here or not? Let us know your thoughts and why down below. Baby crazy Karens kicked me out of a baby shower for having a cool car. My husband and I attended a baby shower for his friend's girlfriend, Ash. Apparently no one in the friend group is a fan of her. About 30 plus people were there, plus kids. Terrible. The friend group hangs out regularly because of the kids. We used to hang out with them, but we hadn't seen them since the pandemic. We all gathered around and watched Ash open so many gifts. We had to take a break because we had been sitting there for an hour, and there was still a huge pile of crap to open. During her cash grab session, she asked in front of all 30 plus people why my husband and I didn't have kids, and said that my clock is ticking. And she said that at my age, I'm at a high risk for birth defects. By the way, she's 23, I'm mid-30s. Ash's husband is 36, and this is the first time I had met her. I shot back that my car is my baby. I jokingly mentioned how it's the same, and all of the women scoffed. So offended. They started pointing out why it's not the same, and how my car can't fill the void of children. I excused myself and went to eat all of the appetizers. The spread was amazing. During the break, one of the husbands came up to me and told me about his new sports car. We went outside to geek out over our cars and test drive them. When we got back from a 15-minute drive, Ash was in the driveway with her husband, waving us down like something was very wrong. Some of the moms started coming out to see what's up. Nope, nothing wrong. She was just irate that we had stepped out and that she couldn't find us. Thus, she couldn't start opening the rest of the presents. She screamed this wasn't about cars, and this was her special day to celebrate her kid. The other women, who I thought liked me enough, were shooting daggers my way. Her husband told both of us to leave. No argument from me. The guy I test drove the car with busted out laughing, which prompted me to laugh. This really set her off, and she stomped her feet like a child and just screamed. I'm petty, so I took back the gift, my homemade macaroons she requested, and the other guy did the same. We got texts the next day that we should have left our gifts and the food, and that we're horrible friends. Blah blah. That was my weekend. This came from the always toxic child-free subreddit, and even a lot of those people thought this OP was the jerk in this situation. They had a couple of reasons for this. First, her post feels like she really wants you to know how different she is from other girls. Second, a lot of them had trouble believing this happened. And if it did, they questioned why someone who hated the host, hates children, and refers to people receiving presents as a cash grab would be going to a baby shower in the first place. In fact, OP even stated in the comments that she bought this woman everyone hates one of the most expensive gifts on the registry. The other detail people questioned was the fact that OP says everyone liked her well enough and hated the host. If that's the case, the fact they sided with the host in the end should say something. It's okay to step away from any gathering for a few minutes. Some people, like those who deal with extreme introversion, pretty much have to. But leaving with somebody else's husband and not telling anybody, that looks suspicious to most people. On one hand, OP was right to leave the moment they started pressuring her about having kids. It's the way she did it that seems questionable. This is what a lot of Redditors call a soft not the jerk ruling. Basically, she's got some moral high ground and might not fully be the jerk in this situation, but it sounds like she's kind of a jerk in general. What do you think? Do you agree with the people judging her or the ones defending her? Let us know why in the comments. If you made it this far in the video, consider liking and subscribing for more videos coming. I had to leave my girlfriend after what she did to my ex. So let me start off by saying I met the love of my life 7 years ago. For the sake of not confusing everyone, let's call my ex Emma. Emma and I met when I was at the lowest point in my life. I had just lost my best friend to a car accident, and I was kicked out by my parents because I had gone down a dark hole I didn't think I could recover from. Emma was working at the rehab center I was sent to, and we just clicked. She was the most supportive person I had ever encountered. She always told me I was on the right path, no matter how many mess-ups I had. She stayed with me for 24 straight hours while I was withdrawing, washed the sheets when I threw up, even if she had just changed them a few minutes ago, held me while I was shaking uncontrollably in the bathtub, washed me, fed me, and just supported me through everything. She was the only reason I decided to clean up my act. And I did. I was 1 year sober and clean when I asked her out on a date, and from there, we were inseparable. I ended up getting a job offer in a new state, and I planned to ask her to marry me and move in with me. When her mother got sick, I never asked, but I planned to stay with her and decline the job offer. But when she found out about it, she encouraged me to take it and said we could do things long distance for a while until she was able to move with me. I was hesitant at first, but this was my dream job, and I decided to do it. Unfortunately, life got in the way, and we decided to end things on a good note. I was heartbroken for a long time. I met my current girlfriend roughly 6 months ago. She's a great girl, but she's completely different from Emma, both personality and looks-wise. Things have been great, but she's made it clear that she's very jealous of Emma, as she knew if Emma was right here right now, I would get back with her in a heartbeat. I never brought up Emma in her presence, and even cut contact with her to be respectful to my new girlfriend. I did still keep in touch with Emma occasionally, but never like I used to. Well, one day I woke up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym like I normally do. However, I left my phone this time. When I got back, my girlfriend was in a very cheery mood and decided to cook me breakfast wearing nothing but lingerie and heels. We decided to skip dinner and head to the bedroom where we had the most hottest, craziest boink we ever had. I'm talking effing insane. She did things I never even thought possible. We were having so much fun, I was even late meeting up with my mom for lunch. It was my mom's birthday, and we normally have a lunch date together. When I arrived at the cafe, my mother was crying her eyes out. I immediately asked her what was wrong, and she explained that Emma's mom had passed away this morning. I was stunned and upset. Emma's mom was a beautiful lady, and someone I had grown to love. I felt my own eyes get teary, and I asked my mother how she knew. She told me Emma called her and let her know. I was a little hurt because why didn't she call me? I asked her why she never called me, and my mother went on to say Emma did call my phone this morning, but my new girlfriend answered and basically told her to F off. No one cares your mother passed away, not even your ex. I saw red and left the cafe. I went straight home to confront my girlfriend. She denied it at first, but then she started crying and saying she didn't mean it and she was sorry and blah blah blah. I then realized that's why she was so aroused this morning when I got home from the gym. That made my stomach churn horribly. I told her to pack her stuff and get the F out, and I pretty much slammed the door in her crying face. I was done with her and blocked her from everything. I then called Emma, and we had a very long conversation. I was planning on going down there and spending time there helping her bury her mom. She doesn't have a big family, and I know my help would mean a lot. But now I'm getting dozens of texts from my now ex-girlfriend's family and friends, and even from my sisters, saying I'm a jerk for not letting her explain, and that it's not her fault, because I never really gave her a chance, and I put Emma on a pedestal. Now I'm wondering if I did the right thing. Needless to say, the first thing most commenters pointed out is that OP's relationship with Emma was highly inappropriate. In no world is it okay for healthcare workers to get involved with their patients, even a year later. And in this case, it kind of sounds like both of them were somewhat unhinged about it. We're supposed to believe this woman worked 24 hours straight to be with this guy? And we're supposed to believe that this guy who was detoxing about as hard as you can would have had no reason to get sober except for the sake of banging the tech at this wildly unprofessional rehab, which for no particular reason I'm assuming was in Florida. The other thing most people point out is that OP's sisters are actually right. He did put Emma on a pedestal. If you want to read too much into it, which I do, then it's worth noting that the new girlfriend didn't even get an alias in the story. If someone cooks me breakfast in lingerie and then loves me so hard and so long that I miss dinner, I'd feel like I owe it to her to give her a fake name when I'm slamming her on Reddit. They also apparently missed breakfast the next morning since OP goes straight from his love marathon to lunch with his mother. Something about OP just makes women want to spend 24 hours at a time with him, no matter how unreasonable the circumstances. There's no doubt about it, this OP's a jerk. That fact that his flapjack-flipping bedroom goddess is a jerk too doesn't make him look any better. I'm about 99% sure none of this even happened, and even then, I still can't help but think OP's a jerk for actually thinking this sort of story is romantic. Because nothing screams romance like using someone to fill your physical needs while waiting for somebody else. Gloomy's sister uses her infertility to drag everybody down with her. Me and my older sister, Claire, have always had a rocky relationship. We don't hate each other, but we do have very clashing personalities. One thing that has always irritated me about Claire is that she's a massive downer. Whenever anyone close in her life is on cloud 9 and their life is going well, Claire will find some way to pity herself and make everyone feel miserable. One topic that Claire uses in order to garner sympathy is the fact that she's unable to have kids. She's brought up this hardship during countless celebratory events. For example, about a year ago, one of our cousins was having a baby shower. During the event, Claire struck up a conversation with nearly every guest and would gradually go into disturbing detail about her infertility struggles. As far as I can tell, most people in our family cave to her manipulative behavior and feel sorry for her. They all refuse to ever call her out because it's a dark and traumatic topic that shouldn't be used against her or discussed. I've held my tongue for many years because I know that I'll get irreparable backlash from most of my family if I speak up or exclude her from events. The issue now is that I'm currently 4 months pregnant with triplets. I'm beyond elated, and my partner and I can hardly wait for the big day. A couple of days ago, I was hosting a gender reveal party and invited multiple family members. I didn't want to invite Claire, but I knew that she would tell everyone I didn't include her and would cause drama, so I ended up inviting her. After the gender reveal portion of the party was over, we all gathered around the table for dinner. Claire was sitting right across from me, and I could feel her hate Claire. It was obvious that Claire was in another one of her, if I'm not happy, no one can be happy moods. I tried my best to make small talk with her, but she was very cold towards me from the start. At some point, one of my family members said, "Whew, 3 girls, you're sure going to have your hands full." Before I could even respond, Claire sarcastically said, Yeah, sure must be nice. I just rolled my eyes and said, You know, Claire, would it hurt you to let others be happy once in a while? This whole pity shtick is getting really dull. Also, being infertile is not a personality. The table went stone silent. Claire looked like she had seen a ghost. She started tearing up, quickly left the table, and walked out of the house. It got incredibly awkward among everyone else, and the party abruptly ended. Multiple family members have reached out to tell me that I'm heartless, and that some things should just never be said ever. Am I the jerk? I'm really fascinated to know what OP means by disturbing detail. Is Claire elaborately describing miscarriages, or is she walking people through her attempts at conception? To be honest, the fact that every other pregnant person on Reddit seems to have twins or triplets actually makes me wonder if Claire inhabits the same creative plane of existence as Emma. But if she's real, I want to know so much more about her and how she's grossing people out with infertility stories. I've never been pregnant, infertile, or a woman, so my imagination on this topic is limited. I wouldn't say OP is the jerk here, but it does feel worth it to point out that there were plenty of other ways to handle the situation. She says everyone worries that not inviting Claire to things will cause drama, but it sounds like inviting her causes drama as well. At least leaving her out causes drama from a distance. In this case, OP's quips led to her party being called off early. Is she really so dedicated to sticking it to her own sister that she's willing to ruin her own party for it? That feels like a waste, when Claire's one-liners could easily be ignored. Nobody should feel like they have to just grin and bear it, but ignoring a person and moving on is sometimes the only way to avoid consequences. So this is another soft verdict. While OP wasn't in the wrong for being mad at Claire, the fact that this argument was important enough to drive away everyone who had to hear it makes it feel like OP had been dreaming of saying this to Claire for a while and had the chamber loaded as soon as the opportunity presented itself. Which means OP's a jerk on at least some level. Do you agree or disagree? Let us know why, and also if there's anything about the context of infertility that you think we missed. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.